Auburn University Marching Band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the Speed Metal Kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
33-24, the final score. Auburn defeats Arkansas in Fayetteville for their first SEC win of the year, snapping a 4-game losing streak. We're going to talk about it. This is our reaction show where we break down the score, the stats, and of course the storylines, which do abound in this one. Let's get into all those different things as much as we can right now. War Eagle, everybody, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, we discuss, we share the Auburn experience, which to us is all about a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing on this post-game reaction show for Auburn football. And my goodness, how nice it is after 4 games and 5 weeks with the bye week, I guess, to be able to sit here and talk with you all about an Auburn football win. The Auburn Tigers take down the Arkansas Razorbacks, as they usually do, at least in Fayetteville, by the score 33-24. Your Tigers are victorious, and we are going to give you our initial. That's the big thing that I always forget to say and emphasize at the start of each of these streams. This is just initial reactions. We're probably going to get some things wrong here. We're just starting to take it all in, analyze some of the stats, things like that. So this is just our best first reaction processing of everything that we witnessed, opinions, all that kind of stuff. And certainly we want to hear from as many of you as we can on the stream today as well. So here's how the agenda works for the majority of you. Actually, let me start off by encouraging you to smash the like button for those of you that are watching live, whichever platform you're on, the share button. If you can do that on social media, let us know that you're here. So many of you are joining us, even fans of other persuasions. Let us know that you're here, where you're watching from. We always like to hear where people are tuning in from. That's a big help to us. So let's get started in that way. Our agenda is as such. We're going to walk through team stats. We're going to walk through individual stats. We're going to walk through the storylines amongst all of those, and we'll take some of your commentary as we can throughout, but maybe a little bit on the backside, focus a little bit more on that. So if there's something that we don't hit right in the middle of all this we're going through, we may come back around to that. So don't be frustrated if we can't get to your point that we want right, or that you want right away. We'll do our best to do that. All right. Initial reactions for me, initial things before we start looking at it. Boy, it is nice to get a win and to sit here with you all, not having to just feel the same old stuff, not being close anymore. Certainly it was a close game at the end, but the close actually swings in Auburn's favor in what I think, given some of the tribulation and some of the standard, it seems, frustrations that continue to arise with the offense. It was nice to see some changes made, and I don't mean that in any way to disparage those who made great efforts but just weren't getting the job done at that time. But to see some changes made and some belief in the team, the program, that, hey, we can overcome these things that continue to arise. It seemingly to us all the time. It feels like that at time when I say us, the team. But yeah, good to have a win here and good to be talking about that. And I'm probably a little bit lost for words at this point to break it down with you a little bit. Just a little bit of housekeeping too. Most of you that are watching the live portion notice that I'm in yet again another new location, and I kind of warned you that would be the case. But I believe we will be back in studio tomorrow night for the Auburn Experience. More on that in a little bit, but let's get into this. Yeah, so here's what I want to know from you. This is much easier to do and to ask for you all on the games like this. Who is your player of the game? I think towards the end of the game, it became much easier to make that case, but I think there are a bunch of candidates. So I want from you that are watching live right now, Who is your player of the game for Auburn? You have options on offense, you have options on defense, and you have mega options on special teams, if I might say so myself. So obviously, we want to hear what your perspectives are on that. We'll come back to see what you guys said in the chat if you want to vote on that right now. Let's start with team stats and look at this. Total yards on the day, 380 for Auburn. So just a little bit more increase than it typically is, 330 for Arkansas. Probably it's not so much the amount that Auburn increased, but the amount that Arkansas was kept in check with. All we heard all week was that Arkansas, Taylor Green was going to tear our behinds up. And yet again, this Auburn defense did some great things. And I don't say that we can't all have fun as fan bases, but I have just heard it week after week after week in various platforms that we're on that this star player for this team was going to do something to Auburn's defense. And it ends up being that they do it to that person. This week it was Taylor Green. Last week it was Ahmad Hardy. The week before that it was so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. So we know that this defense is legit. We know this defense is every bit of the caliber that we hoped it might be. And that talent is really coming together. A lot of it, at a very young age as well. Take a break from the stats to see how you guys are voting. Let's see. I'm not sure which one Micah is voting for there because he didn't give me a choice. He's giving me a choice there, but I got Atkins, Pleasant, Atkins coming up here as well. Anybody else want to give your player of the game? Don't be shy. Jump that in there if you can. I think you're going to find Xavier Atkins, Rashawn Pleasant are your most likely candidates. We'll get into those stats in a little bit. On the defensive side, you're going to find Alex McPherson is your special teams candidate that a lot of people are going to bring up. You're also going to probably see Jeremiah Cobb, maybe even a little love to Ashton Daniels in this one, what I thought was very appropriate for what the announcers called him as a game manager, coming into a situation that was not very good for Auburn and giving them the stability that they need to get over the hump and get the job done versus Arkansas on the road. And let me point out as well, and I told you we'll kind of utilize the storylines as they feel appropriate in our stats conversation on a disgusting day. One of my early frustrations, if we're just going to have well-rounded and not just gush about the team, well-rounded conversations, I really didn't like how often we were trying to run with like jet sweeps or just extended runs out with Singleton, and where he has to make a quick cut. We're in a different studio, so I'm not used to the setup here. Make a quick cut, and then he would slip and slide in the wet, unstable conditions because of what they played in. So overcame that. So, Arkansas had to play in the exact same thing, right? That's not like Auburn had any extra to overcome, but that was one of the frustrations I had. I was like, why are we running this so often? Run straight ahead, let them get ahead of steam, fewest cuts as possible, and get up there and go if you can. So WT talking about Ashton Daniels with our weapons, a game manager is all we need. I think certainly that is, here I go knocking everything around again. I'm trying my best to get used to being where I am right now. But certainly that's a great point to bring up, WT. All right, let's keep rolling here with some team stats. Continue to bring your comments up as you can. Passing yards today for Auburn, kind of about what they've been, 150. Really exciting start to the game with that Cam Coleman touchdown, which we'll get to his stats and story in a minute. 268 passing for Arkansas, so they won that category. Yet again, look at this, 230 rushing for Auburn. That's just so beautiful. But what's also as beautiful is 63 yards rushing for Arkansas. Auburn's rush defense shuts them down again. Absolutely amazing. Penalties weren't as much of a factor as they have been for either team that's playing Auburn these days. You've got 4 penalties for 35 yards for Auburn, 3 for 12 for Arkansas. Looking a little bit further, some of the things that we talk about when we're able to do, we weren't able to do it this week, but the preview and prediction shows third downs. Auburn was only 3 of 12, so 25.25, 25% of the time they were able to get the third down. So not really that successful. Arkansas had to go for it on third down much less and had a little bit more success, 3-1. But Auburn was 100% on fourth down, 2 of 2. Arkansas was 0 of 1 on fourth down. You look at the disparagements in plays, 70 for Auburn, 45 for Arkansas. So that's what you got to do on the road, especially in conditions like this. You've got to control the clock. You've got to keep your offense out there in the field and control the momentum of the game as much as you possibly can, and see if that can play into your favor, especially if you're in a rut like Auburn has been. Average yards per play, Arkansas wins that almost by 2 yards, 5.4 to 7.4. Looking to see if there's anything else of significance in those averages. Probably not of note. Red zone, 5 of 6 for Auburn, 2 of 2 for Arkansas. Both teams were very efficient. Time of possession, 37 minutes, 40 seconds for Auburn, 22 minutes and 20 seconds for Arkansas. So really kind of tying that with the total plays, that's probably your stat. We talk about this a lot in my post-game shows for basketball. Where's the stat that tells the story of the tape? Those two together, and the time of possession and the total plays, I think, is probably what ultimately led to Auburn winning the game. Certainly it's the big interceptions, the fumble recovery, things like Alex McPherson just being a man today. But, those things don't happen without some of this time of possession, keeping the ball away from Arkansas. So they had a good game plan and were able to do that. 4 turnovers in the day for Arkansas, the 1 pick 6 for Auburn gave up to Arkansas, which was thought to be the backbreaker at the time. Only 2 sacks allowed for Auburn's offensive line, or just in general. So that's another good day. A couple of false start penalties, which were frustrating, especially on 3rd down and in the red zone. But look, we're looking for wherever we can improve at this point. 3 for Arkansas. Tackles for loss, Auburn 5, Arkansas 4. So there you go. There's a little quick overview of the team stats. Before we get into individual stuff, what else we got going on here? Devin says not calling a targeting on Ashton Daniels was a travesty. I think I know what play you're referring to, and I felt at times that was probably something they could have called, but that's just the case these days. Auburn doesn't seem to be getting many calls, no matter who is the head ref or not. WT says troubling that we could march down the field and then stall in the red zone. Yeah, it's one of the more frustrating things that seem to have happened over Auburn the last 4 to 5 years, is being able to move the ball but not capitalize to the maximum amount as often as possible. So I do agree with you there, WT, that this game probably could have been much easier if Auburn had just cashed it in with more, not efficiency, but more effectiveness, touchdowns, and may have been able to control things a little bit more. This is from Jacob. 3rd and long on D is still a problem. Just imagine we figured that out. We call that 3rd and Auburn, Jacob. We'll look at the defensive stats in just a little bit, and get into a little bit more of that. Okay, keep moving through here. Again, you guys continue to bring up your comments, questions, topics for the show. Let's talk about individual stats. We got Jackson Arnold on the day, who once again gets off to an outstanding start. 7 for 12 on the day, throws a beautiful pass to Cam Coleman. It's one of those passes that you just throw in the back shoulder of the end zone and expect your superstar to go up and get it, and boy, did he. Incredible play, great pass by Jackson, but then an equally boneheaded play, and I think he would admit the same thing, to not see that corner breaking down and threw a very easy pick 6, which is what got him benched for this game. And Ashton Daniels comes in, only goes 6 for 8 in passing, only 6 of 8 in passing, 77 yards, so more than Jackson Arnold by the end of it. He has a passer rating of 155, completion 75%. So when you look at the passing of this game, it's not amazing, but in a game where you are trying to be aware of the conditions and struggles that could be there for catching the ball, the slickness of it, you probably had to have something like this to have a win in the game. Where is most impressive? And that is rushing, something that everybody has been clamoring for, something that everybody has just been begging for. And regardless of the outcomes so far this season, this is just something that makes me happy. I am a run game purist. It's why I was concerned the more it looked like we were going towards an RPO, even though run is in the option of the run pass option. It seems like we tend to throw the ball a little bit more these days. So I love seeing this stat line right here from Jeremiah Cobb. 28 rushes for 153 yards, his long of 20. So really just that big 20-yard run there. There's a couple others, but a 5.5 average on the day. Absolutely outstanding. So kudos to him. kudos to the offensive line, the rest of the blockers, the wide receivers, tight ends for giving Jeremiah Cobb space to do what Jeremiah Cobb does best. WT calls it his best game ever. I'd have to go back and look to see if that's the case. We certainly have not seen him in a featured position to be having that type of statement put on one of his games quite yet. So you may be correct, WT, in that. But we'd need to go back and look at that. It's a very impressive game. Credit to him. Credit to all those that allowed him the space to run. We always need to do that as well. Ashton Daniels is 7 for 35, 7 rushes for 35 yards for an average of 5 per game. Eric Singleton actually was somewhat successful, even slipping a few times, 4 for 18 on some jet sweeps and things like that, average of 4.5. Omar Mabson got in there a few times, 3 rushes for 18 yards, so nice to see him too. Jackson was having a few struggles getting the ball going, but he had a couple of good runs there, here and there. So overall, there's really not too much to be upset about in the rushing game. Very effective, obviously headlined by Jeremiah Cobb, exactly what the doctor ordered to control the narrative, to control the drama, to control a game that could have gotten out of hand with the conditions, the adversity, all of that, and Auburn succeeds in the end. Probably because of the rushing attack as well. So I'll be honest with you. I'm looking here at the receiving individual stats, and I wasn't expecting to see the ball spread around as much as it appears to be that it was, especially with the way the passing wasn't something really exciting outside that one play in this game. Malcolm Simmons leads in receptions, 3 for 17. Eric Singleton gets 2 for 56 yards, a long of 48 with a great throw from Ashton Daniels to just put it up again for a guy to go make a play where he was even getting held by the defender. Cam Coleman, we already talked about him once, but certainly he goes down with an injury, and I don't think we saw him much more at all the rest of the game. But he did make an outstanding Cam Coleman type play, getting a touchdown on the year. Jeremiah Cobb with 2 receptions, Brandon Frazier with 2 receptions, Omar Mabson with 1 as well. Perry Thompson get involved. So you've got tight ends, most of your wide receivers, if not all your primary ones, and both running backs get involved in the passing game. So even when it wasn't his best, the best passing game in the world, this was a game where Auburn got done with what it needed to do. Using the ball, moving the ball down the field, and doing those short intermediary passes. What I liked especially, I was watching the game with family, and they were asking my opinion about, so what should you do in these weather conditions situations? It should be these short, very easy passes, really where they don't have to make a lot of cuts to get open, so they won't slip and get behind the 8 ball in the timing of the play. And oftentimes you saw the tight end or the running back kind of rolling out into the flats and them looking to them as a dump off pass to go with their momentum and not have to force them to make a cut, a stop, a start here and there. So again, stat wise, the passing game was fine, but it was exactly what the doctor ordered up. Some follow-ups from WT about Jeremiah Cobb. This is his single game rushing record, and certainly that does lend itself to that narrative of his best yet. His previous, look at Mr. Statistician right here, 121 in Ball State was his previous best. So he eclipses that by almost 30 yards there, 30 yards, it looks like, if I'm doing quick math in my head. We don't typically go through individual stats of Arkansas or the team that we're playing, but I just want to point this out, coming back to the narrative about this player for this team is just going to run all over Auburn. Let's look at Taylon Green's stats today. 14 of 22. So efficient outside of 3 interceptions, 268. So not a terrible day if you ignore those 3 interceptions, but it's hard to ignore those ones. It has 1 touchdown in the day. Taylon Green was 7 for 14 in rushing, so 2 yards per rush. So for a guy that was very dangerous, Auburn football kept him in check and kept him from doing too much damage, especially in a situation which could have been even more damaging with how quickly they got down. Let me look at a couple of comments here. We'll do defensive stats here in just a second. Jacob's got a couple or something questions here. Did we simplify the offense after Ashton came in from a passing perspective? I would like to know how much is it Jackson versus play calling causing issues now that we've seen Ashton do just fine? Keep in mind, it's always we're always quick to ask these questions and assume that that this one game is going to provide the answer to what it actually is. It wouldn't shock me if everything was simplified for the guy making his first start as an Auburn Tiger. Now, you have to remember, this is a veteran quarterback. He's been around for a while at Stanford, wherever, with mixed results there. But he's at least experienced. So you'd like to think that they wouldn't have to simplify things too much. It could have just been his poise. It could have just been his recognition of what he needed to do as a veteran quarterback to give his offense and his defense a chance to win the game. I would lean more, it's less about the play calling and more about simplifying things and just what he was able to provide in terms of stability, no panic, able to make some plays. I think maybe that's where I would lean in your question more than anything. As we move to defensive stats, WT wants to give some more shout outs to Atkins. Xavier Atkins menacing their offense all day. So let's take a look at that. It's a great segue, almost like WT knows we're about to go. Xavier Atkins, once again, we need to go back and look how many games he's been the lead tackler. Once again, by far, the lead tackler. Although Robert Woodyard last game was pretty good too. And he is this game too. Just he's doubled up pretty more than that by Xavier. Xavier, 13 tackles on the day, 9 solo, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 1 quarterback carry, 1 forced fumble. Just taking a real quick look down the only other stat line that compares is Rashawn Pleasant because he has 2 interceptions on the day, but he has 1 tackle. It's going to be hard to beat Xavier Atkins for defensive player of the game. Robert Woodyard right there as well. Talked about this last game as one of the bright spots in the struggles that we were having. How great Xavier is playing, but you're almost forgetting how great Robert Woodyard has been playing, who had what I think Coach called his best game of his career last year, a guy that thought maybe about leaving per Coach's words. If things he just wasn't seeing his playing time and his opportunities go the way he wanted, but he stuck it out, and look at these two just dominating together. So 13 tackles for Xavier, 6 for Robert. Great day for them. Kayan Lee, Caleb Harris, Keldrick Falk, Eric Winters are all there with 3 tackles. Champ Anthony, Walker, Autry, Jamison Travis with 2, and then a bunch with 1. Again, the other stat line that looks very impressive tonight is Rashawn Pleasant with those 2 interceptions, which were humongous in this game. Absolutely humongous in this game. So there is your individual stats. We've already gone through the team stats. One thing that we always forget to do, and we should, is go to special teams. And today is certainly a day where that needs a little bit of extra time spent on it. Wow, man. What can you say about Alex McPherson? It feels like every single time we come to a game, there's a roller coaster ride with him. And some of it, a lot of it not on him. Some of it like last week where he could have done better. Maybe sometimes put in situations he didn't need to be put in. Today, when the offense stalled out after moving the ball down the field in the red zone, he's a behemoth of a man. He makes 6 of 6 field goals on the day. He made 1 in the second, 2 in the third, and 3 in the fourth quarter in clutch time. Here are all the distances in order: 36, 23, 43, 26, 47, and 37. The long of 47, which is a little bit closer to that one he missed by a little bit in terms of distance last week. So his strength is still there in some regard, just not what we're used to with him. That has to feel really good if you are Alex McPherson after what happened last week, after what you have been through. It's the feel-good story of this game, probably. You love Rashawn Pleasant with 2 interceptions, the way the defense responded, the way the offense kept going, even when things stalled out again, and they got a switching quarterback too. You got to be proud about that. The feel-good story of this game, other than the win, is obviously Alex McPherson. So very, very happy for him. What else do we got in here? Jacob says, now the waiting game to see if we roll with Ashton from here on. Would like to run Jackson or Deuce against Mercer to keep the red shirt for Ashton. Certainly that's some future thinking right there, and I'm not going to lie that I hadn't thought about that already, Jacob, but we'll see. I think it's a good thing to reward players when they do something good for you, but here's the facts of the matter. Jackson's gotten us off to great starts. Now, do you just kind of let him continue to do that? And he's been very consistent with that and try to continue to figure it out and know Ashton's ready to go. And they both kind of settle into their roles and don't use Ashton if you have to, especially when you've got some games soonish coming up that should be still manageable in terms of how difficult the opponent is supposed to be. We can start to talk about that down the line, but as coach said this week, we are focused on winning the games, not necessarily about what the original plans were for staff and roster management and things like that. I love that WT is quoting the lose yourself Eminem thing. He says, look, if you had one shot or opportunity to seize everything you wanted at one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Look at him dropping the lyrics in there for Ashton Daniels. Awesome. Okay, so if you got any more comments, questions, topics, please drop those in there. We'll try to round out with those this evening and cover any else related stuff to this game. Your Auburn Tigers win 33-24. A couple reminders for you. I don't have any cue cards ready for you today. You'll have to excuse that. We've been in a very busy time, as you all have known, and I do believe that I will be in studio with you tomorrow for our next scheduled post-game show. Regular scheduled podcast, the Auburn Experience. Now, Austin is not going to be with us tomorrow, so I am working hard to figure out what we're going to do. We may have a guest step in, which if some of you are watching, you might get a call. So you know who you are. But right now we're scheduled 9 Eastern time, 8 Central to do that Auburn Experience live recording, episode 147, 148, 148 sounds right. And that'll be tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. We will do Auburn Family Night, same thing. That'll be 9 Eastern time, 8 Central on Wednesday night, live call-in show for you all. Preview and prediction show for the next game, which will be on Thursday, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and be paying attention to TikTok, all the other social media throughout the week for great stuff. You never know what we'll get into. I'm going to be getting back into somewhat of a regular schedule this week, so I will require just a little bit of extra patience as we get into the middle of the week, and hopefully we'll be settled in and ready to roll. I'm excited to be right now heading back to campus next week. That's the great thing about this week is I'll be settling back in and then heading to campus for you guys if all things go well here with plans. So there's your updates, all that kind of stuff. Anything else this evening that you all want to talk about, break down? If there's anything that we've missed talking about, people that need shout outs, things like that, let's discuss them. A couple things that pop into my mind. This is the first full start for Cale Ellis after the injury to Connor Liu. He certainly did have a penalty against him in this game, at least one. I think I saw a couple of lower high snaps, but you have to remember this guy is being thrown into the fire as a starter in the SEC as I think still 17-year-old. And it seems like coach was pretty pleased just in his initial reaction with how he played in the post-game comments. So shout out to him. A lot of respect to young guys like that are stepping up in big ways for Auburn, especially when what I call the one injury that couldn't happen this year, Connor Liu, happened. I think that was the worst possible scenario, and we've got a guy stepping up at a very young age as well. Thanks to Ashton Daniels for stepping up today as well when the team needed him, regardless of what's going to happen with those red shirts rules. And as I've kind of talked through everything with you all today, I've tried to think about who would I pick as the player of the game. Like I said, I think you've got options in every single side of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams. Yeah. It's hard to not look at Alex McPherson, especially after his whole story and last week, and go, he's the guy. And then you got Xavier Atkins out but we're coming used to this with Xavier Atkins. Rashawn Pleasant with those two interceptions. You got Ashton Daniels, what he did, Jeremiah Cobb. So it's just nice to have so many options, but I think I've got to go with Alex McPherson in this particular situation, just going 6 for 6 clutch after what he did, getting back to what we're used to with him. That's got to be my player of the game. Another shout out for Cale Ellis, 17-year-old center, performed well from WT. Absolutely. David on Twitter says, would be nice to score some offensive touchdowns. What I always want to stress is this. It's always interesting when someone's first comment is a negative one. Sorry, David. We're going to speak honestly here. Maybe you have been commenting other things I just haven't seen. But I think it's important, guys, especially when you're in these moments to make sure that the most commentary we're doing are always the things that are relevant to what's happening right now in terms of we're celebrating at this moment. We can certainly talk a little bit more constructively, critically as time goes on and look at some of those things. But I do agree with you, David. This game is, we talked about this a little bit earlier. This game would have been much easier and much more stressful if at least one of them don't force Alex to have to go in there and do what he did, but he did it. So thank you to Alex McPherson for knocking that true. And, that's cleaned up by lack of penalties in the red zone, things like that. WT wants a shout out for the 2-point conversion. Was nice. Wonder why they couldn't punch touchdowns in like that. You asked that question, or you point that out, and it says it's so easy. Then why isn't it easy the other time? Because they're scheming it up a different way on defense. It's one of those things that looks so easy to us as fans, and we ask the questions, why can't that happen then? It's just not that simple, I promise you. It seems like it should be, but it's just not that simple. Either way, though, the Tigers are victorious today. Once again, your final score is Auburn 33, Arkansas 24. And boy, is it nice to finally be out of a losing streak, to finally this season get an SEC win, to finally have a reason for everybody just to be a little more quiet this week in terms of the consternation, things like that. Yes, it is nice to not have to talk about moral victories. I agree with that as well, WT. Thank you all so much for being here and participating with us. Thank you all as well for those of you that have been very patient over the last 2 weeks or so with me, being in different locations, different time schedules, things like that. And we're hoping to get back to a regular scheduled program, regular schedules for everything here in the coming weeks. Once again, you guys are awesome. You continue to be the best little family within the Auburn family, and we appreciate you being here and spending some time with us today. 33-24, final score. Auburn wins. As we leave you, I want to remind you of this, that the Auburn Creed asks you to do these things: to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same. War Eagle.